robust
Sorry,
and
can we record just to have the information? Sorry.
Yeah, it's
Great.
being recorded. And relatively, I mean, not too expensive, but more expensive than some of the cheaper ones that you can buy. And is to buy a Davis weather station, either the Vantage Pro 2 or I forget the brands. You may be able to get them cheaper by bulk, but the thing is they're they can all be connected to, the data can be picked up rather easily remotely. The data is of fairly good quality, and it's a consistent error profile. You know, there's an accepted degree of error, so they're very consistent. They're robust, and Jonathan recommends for any network, but he recommends that the Davis network, the Davis equipment be used. So if I was going to give recommendation now, you know, rather than spending 200 or 250, I don't know exactly what the cost is, Camilo, but let's say they're $500, then you might be better off getting half as many better stations than double the number of cheaper stations.
Yeah.
But we could easily set up a call with Jonathan. Jonathan would be more than pleased to advise you and me on this.
Yeah, it will be great. It will be great. I know that our only constraint is that 150. I know this is very, very cheap, but at least for this stage, because we have a budget, very small budget, you know,
Yeah.
$5,000 for us is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because this is a you know, community project. And about that, you say a concept that I think is very important for this kind of citizen science, that is about the dense network. You know, we have a station that measure pressure, rainfall, temperature, and wind. I think wind is the difference. I discovered that from wind and no wind, there are two categories. You know, from no wind, there are many of them, and you can have just a watch and it measure the temperature at this. But the wind is another category, still behind the 150. But the wind is so important for us, and the Argentinian colleague, they say that for climate change uses, wind could be the most important parameter at the end, because you can extrapolate with waves, with many other things, if you have the wind. So wind is one thing that we really need. So we need to manage between these parameters in this very, you know, cheap.
And the challenge with wind is actually to measure the wind properly, it has to be in the right location. Because if you put it, like, let's say on the top of a church building, it depends on what's around. There may be wind that's influenced by the peak of the roof, and you get weird gusts. You know, the standard wind, of course, needs to be in an exposed area, and on a tower, relatively, high up somewhere, where you're not influenced by the local boundary layer and funneling and all that. Because what you really want to understand is what's the prevailing wind and the gusts that are causing the changes, for example, in the wave train and the coastal erosion, and so you want to be confident enough that the winds that you're measuring are representative of what's happening at the shoreline. So now there's still so you could try to get the best exposure with the cheap instruments. A couple of things is that if you had one high quality instrument at the same location as a cheaper one, you could use that as a um, to do that comparison, so you could make adjustments to the network. I know it's not perfect, but let's say there's a bias in the cheaper instrument, then you might be able to use that bias to apply a rough correction to the winds in the other locations.
Yeah,
Just one strategy you can use just by buying one instrument,
yeah, yeah.
or locating one of the cheaper instruments at the location, like in Spanish Ship Bay, where there's already a Davis weather station, and then doing using that to set up um, a, a bias. The other thing too, you could locate. There are some Environment Canada weather stations along the coast. Not too many, but Beaver Island.
Yeah, there are two on the
Yeah.
Eastern Shore. One in Kansas, one in Cheat Harbor. There are two.
Okay. Oh, yeah. There's one. You mean the one in Malay Falls, or?
Okay, in Cheat Harbor is in Hurricane Cove.
Okay.
There is one, and the other one is in Kansas.
Right. So again, you could use that as the baseline to do the comparisons. So set up and so if you put a cheaper station close to it, then the other thing is, and I'm thinking that the provincial government just made a decision not to implement the Coastal Protection Act. So what they said is, what we're going to do is provide advice and resources to municipalities so that they can make decisions on coastal protection themselves. One argument might be, well, why doesn't the provincial government give your group $100,000 to set up a meso network and engage the communities as part of that? I don't know if you've asked.
But this is part of, Jim, this is part of the plan, but not now, not this year. Maybe it will be with the next government. But one of the idea of our project is that this citizen science, surely you know, is initially is more about involve the people,
engaging the people.
Yeah, that the people is feel that they start to understand the phenomenon.
Yep.
And this is, and later when they are aware about the phenomenon and especially the effects, to make a decision. I was just finishing I now in Dalhousie, and we're just finishing 2-hour meeting with the team in which I'm working here and will be the project in the long term. And we were just having exactly this conversation, that we know that at the provincial level they're making some decisions. And now I didn't know that yesterday they decide to have a new bill for a new Coastal Protection Act that will erase the previous one already approved. And this new bill is something that say that we don't have any responsibility, something, that because they are denying the climate change. I'm just informing, 20 minutes ago. But, but the thing is that my point is that I believe that if our people in Cheat Harbor, they understand about, for example, the wind, how the wind is working, and why it's important to be exposed, what is important to have a better weather station, and how everything is related. Next time that they have a conversation with their counselor, they will say, hey, but pay attention, please counselor, say to our MLA there in Halifax that it's important that we have a better weather station, because I have mine in my home because we have some project with the Anglican Church 3 years ago. And now I understand better, but our station is not really accurate. We need better stations, but you are the government and we pay taxes. Please start a better weather station. This is the kind of
right
that we want to create.
Exactly. So then that, of course, that makes sense. And of course, even with inexpensive weather stations, what you need to do is, and I think that's part of your project, is have the citizen scientists document impacts.
Yep.
And then when you document impacts, you can do a forensic analysis of what was observed at the station, and what were the impacts, and then you can develop adaptation strategies. Even if the station is not perfect, at least the station observed something, and the next time that it observes this, you may experience similar impacts. And the other thing too, you can compare what was observed with what was forecast. And anyways, you can play with the data and have some fun with it, but it's important to document impacts that, power was out, trees were knocked down, there was significant coastal erosion.
And I will also love it because I love the term. I write here climatic forensic analysis.
Yes.
I think it will engage a lot. I know that Marianne will be very happy. Teenagers. You will be your CSI, but the C means climate.
Exactly. And when I do talks to communities with the Kokora station, we tell them exactly that the value of the station will be enhanced if you do a forensic analysis. For example, if the wells are drying up, you can look at how much precipitation you were or were not getting, and then you can anticipate the next time you see that pattern that the wells may be at risk, and you should implement a water conservation strategy. The same thing with respect to, while the province is the one that issues fire bans, the community can make decisions based on what they're seeing. And within the community, you could say, even at the church level, oh, by the way, we haven't been getting any precipitation over the last 2 weeks. And it could be a learning experience, eh? So there's so much you can do with observations to influence behavior.
I have to say, because they're already in the parish making this project part of the Sunday announcements. So to be able to announce on Sunday morning to say that, it hasn't rained in 2 weeks, so we have to be more careful about whatever, is really great. The other thing I've got to say, because I'm going to pass it off to you for Camilo, because my battery's running dry. I've had too many Zoom meetings today without a plug-in. Is that when Camilo's pointed out the forensic analysis, all of a sudden my imagination went wild, thinking about what this could do for the Ocean's 11 program at the school. We're in partnership with them too, and how investigative, just it's kind of like what do you call those rooms? Escape rooms.
Yeah.
But you have to answer the questions. You have to, solve the puzzle. And so the puzzle really is variable depending on the weather and the factors that are influencing it. But the impact is the thing that you have to be able to come up with. That's the answer. Anyway, so with that, I have to pass it on to Camila. This is fascinating. I really hate to leave.
Okay, well, nice. You have a nice weekend then, Marion. Enjoy Fredericton, and nice. And we'll probably talk next week on EV chargers.
Yes, and it looks like Tuesday's the day. Okay. So I'm going to pass it to Camilo.
Take care.
Okay. Here we are.
Okay.
No, I think it's great. If you might, I will show you a little the overview about the project. I think just to did I send you the link of our website or not?
I don't know. You may have, but I forget.
Okay. No, just to know, I will show you. No, give me a second. Okay, here it is. Okay. Give me a second, please. Here. Okay. This is our website. That I will send you the link later if you want, but it's very simple. But just that maybe if somebody asks you or you want to know a little more about the project, this is the website, and we just explain the the objective, the purpose of the project, the timeline about the project, who is involved, you know.
Yeah.
The funding, that is important in a project, you know, that 3 Anglican grants at the same time that we applied, and we won 3 Anglican grants at the same time. And Dalhousie University that I managed to involve to cover because the Anglican Foundation grant was cut in a part, and Dalhousie, I managed that Dalhousie give this extra money.
Yeah.
So we continue. And here are our activities. There's lunch and learn, so that now this is supper and learn. And here is where the idea that we have a poster with you for the next activity. It will be published here in our website and also in our Facebook group. These are the 2 main channels that you are informed.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, and the thing that I really want to show you is about this is the map of our study area. You know, here is Church Harbor, and here is Port Dufferin. This project, because it's with an Anglican fund and it's led by the Anglican Church, our borders are the Anglican Church borders. It means that we are part of the Port Dufferin parish that goes from Moose River to Cheat Harbor. Something here meets the boom, but Cheat Harbor to Moose River.
Yeah.
From now we have in this parish there are 4 churches as buildings. You know, the first one is the closest to Cheat Harbor is St. Andrews. This is the church and the cemetery. The other one is in Port Dufferin, the St. James. In Sober Island, there is the third, that is really is the St. Mary's. Is the here the St. Mary's, the other, sorry, is the St. Margaret. St. Margaret, it's in Sober Island. And the 4th is St. Mary's.
Yeah.
And also, but because I'm the scientist, you know, this is my job is to speak about science. I'm focused on the coastal sites. The idea is that to have this dense network, I love the concept. I will use very often since now, is that the idea is to have as dense networks as we can. So for now, we will have in this Port Dufferin area, I want to have at least 4 or 5 sites. Until now, I have 3 defined. The first one is in the St. Andrews Church. Maybe if, just to show you in something in depth, in this part, just give me a second. I try to zoom in, but I don't know why it's not working, but okay. Here, I know my computer is too slow. But here, you know, is part of the branch. It's very inshore location. But it's the only sandy beach. It's not really sandy, but it's the more sand that I was able to find close to Cheat Harbor. But something that is very interesting here is there is this speed, some kind of sand speed.
Oh, yeah.
So the idea is to have here the site, because I'm really curious about the dynamics of this sand speed. You know, this is why this is part, and it's just in front of the church. I think this would be best location, you know, that we have the church just front to the coast, is a road, is the sand speed, and is a lot of erosion. You say, great, this is a nice location to measure. The second site is in Sober Island, which was quite challenged to find a sandy beach, because there is not any sandy beach in Sober Island. I have my expectation in this very nice speed, but it's
Yeah.
a cobble beach.
A cobblestone. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not useful for for beach profile or for any kind of measurement. And also the energy, if it is covered here, it's because the energy of waves is huge. So I think it's not a good place for citizen science, at least not now. but I found here, just very close to the St. Margaret Church, it's exactly here, a very, very small beach. I think it's 20-meter beach, but it's nice because here in the location, there is a house just in front of the coast that the owner built a seawall because he has erosion. Later, adjacent to this seawall is this small beach, and adjacent to that is a flooding area. Everything very small, everything is 20 meters, 50 meters.
Right.
And later is a small cove, this very, very small cove. But one of the parishioners, he's the owner of one of these properties, and his neighbor is the owner of the beach that I'm very optimistic to say beach, but I want to say beach,
Oh, yeah.
But this is, the closer to a beach, a sandy beach in the Sober Island. The third point, but I didn't visit yet, but I identified when I was driving and later in Google Earth, is in Beaver Harbor. Here is quite nice beach. So I want to go there tomorrow. I want to go there and to analyze the beach. And will be great because it's very well located geographical sense. I will show you later again the whole map. The fourth coastal site is in Herringham Cove, and is here in the Turner Island. And here is a bridge, because this is an island, the Turner Island. Here's a bridge. There is one parishioner that he's living just in front of the bridge. And here's also a very small beach that is created because this is some kind of, let's say, a cove.
Right.
And it's some sand accumulation. It's not something big, but the parishioner is living close. There are some sand accumulation, so it will be our location. And the last one is in Moosehead Cove, and it's called Moosehead Beach. I didn't visit yet, but one parishioner, she's living just in front to this beach, and she sent me some pictures and said, Camilo, maybe can we include this beach? And say, well, it would be great. Finally, we have a real beach to include in our project, So I said, yes, of course. I want tomorrow to visit this beach. Just to give the check, to change from brown to purple. That means that it's included.
Exactly.
But it's also because we have a parishioner. Just to show you the whole map again, the whole area. I'm very excited about the project because it's this mix between science and faith. Even I'm not Christian, but I'm very excited with this idea that we can connect the parishioners with the coast. So the decision for these coastal sites, I'm very excited that say that is because we have beach, we have sand accumulation and parishioners together. And this is how we decide the sites. I think it's amazing that. Just to show you the general overview. Last thing, the only sites in which I have the sand but not the parishioner is Beaver Harbor. So maybe tomorrow I expect, or at least in the 7th June, when you will be our guest speaker, I hope that we manage to have some monitors, some volunteers that they want to be giving the measurement there in Beaver Harbor. Because as you can see, they are very well distributed. We really need this point, to have a good distribution. This is all about the coastal sites,
Exactly. Nice.
My idea is to have a weather station in each of these 9 points, the 5 coastal sites and the 4 churches. So we have a small, very small network, but quite dense in the sense that we don't have any almost any station in the Eastern Shore, and now we have in Cheat Harbor 9 stations. I think it's great. I would love to include Coco Rush also in our project.
Right, and the cocoa. I told Kelly that I have a spare station that I could donate to the project, but they're not very expensive. They're only, $50 or $60 each.
Oh, no, we can buy it. I think it
yeah.
would be better,
Yeah. So, but what it's better, for example, to perhaps get an understanding of what the citizen science program is about, and then you'll have an idea where they might be best situated. Because one of the things with Kokoras, one of the values is to look at what the freshwater input is to the coastal ecosystems. So sometimes the flow of, let's say, the East River out of Sheet Harbor might be determined further up somewhere, inland.
Yeah.
But at the minimum, if you have at least Sheet Harbor has Malay Falls, wherever that is, as an indicator of what the precipitation is. But in any case, the freshwater input into the coastal zone is of interest, of course, especially with small scale thunderstorm kind of events. But there is the thing is there's very little Kokoras network along the Eastern Shore. Yeah. And so the adding several stations along the Eastern Shore would add significantly to the overall network, which would help do precipitation analysis for central Nova Scotia, so that you could, hydrologists, for example, might be able to calculate what some of the flows are by having this data complement some of the other data. So anyway, and the other thing is snow data is also important, because the snow in 2015, the weight of the snow caused significant damage to roofs. It had significant impact on transportation networks, because it's not only the snow, but it's the rain and the ice that gets built up in the snowpack that affects the weight of the snow. And also when the snow melts, it's a significant source of fresh water. So yeah, it's a fun project, and it's so local, and it's involving the people. So
no, and I think it's important to say that this as a project, is that just Port Dufferin parish, but this year. But the good thing, I don't know if Kelly or Marianne told you, but maybe you know about this big project in Dalhousie that is called Transforming Climate Action. Do you know about the project? Okay, this is the biggest grant that Dalhousie have won in his 200 years of story, was 150 million from federal funds, with other 3 universities, of course. But the thing is that we are more than 500 researchers, and will be from that year, from 2023 to 2013, will be 7 years project. Also, we managed to link this project with the Anglican Church with the Dalhousie project. There are 2 different projects, but the idea is that this is how I obtained this extra budget, from Dalhousie. I said, we can use this project in Sheet Harbor as a pilot stage for our project in the next 5 years. And this is just to tell you that my plan is that we can do exactly the same that we are doing here in Sheet Harbor, from McNabb Island to Canso,
Right.
you know, and to have not only the dense network, but also a wide network in the Eastern Shore. My dream is that in 2 years, we have, I just want to say a number, but 100 stations, you know, but I think the most important part is not about the stations, it's about the people that is engaged and they understand why it's important to continue the monitoring, why it's important that weekly or at least monthly, they collect this data. And now I'm thinking that I'm trying that how we will manage this data is one of the questions that we have. Now I'm thinking about artificial intelligence. I think it could be very useful. Maybe we can research something about that and just figure out my mind about what we can do in the future. But first, we need the people and the stations. I think that would be great if we can first show to the people in Cheat Harbor that they are not alone. You know, they are not the first one that are doing that, and that this is not so difficult. This is why our previous guest speaker, it was a project from Argentina. Some colleagues that I know them from many years ago. They show how they have this initiative for more than 10 years. You know, and they are still collecting data and doing monitoring. So the idea that I want to convince the people that you can do it because it's important for you. It's not because you are saving the world. No, you are saving your world. You know,
Exactly.
it's for your well. It's not for my well. It's not because I'm scientist I want to have data. No? It's because your well is your property. The waves that will affect your the daily life.
Exactly. That's good.
Yeah. So and now the question is, what do you want to talk on June? You can talk to us about many very interesting things, but I don't know what do you
Yeah, well,
think is most.
the easiest thing for me, because I've done presentations on the citizen side, what the Cocoa Ross Network is,
Yeah.
who uses it, what's involved. I usually bring a station, and then and actually show how the station is used, and then show a few case studies of how the data made a difference with extreme weather. And so it gives people, first of all, an opportunity to see that it's not difficult. There's an app that you can put on your phone to enter the data, to observe the data. So it's pretty easy. It's important because the data is used by very many stakeholders, including the federal government. And this whole idea of forensic climatology is something this data will help, for example, you know, to alert, well, the drought and the flood, or the drying, you know, the availability, the water availability, or the forest fire threat, or the flood threat. All of this can be inferred by comparing impacts with the data.
Yeah.
And then you develop an adaptive management strategy by using the data to change your behavior.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I did some work on First Nations Reserve, and they had a problem that their wells were running dry, but they were filling up their swimming pool using the town water and the community water, you know, the drinking water.
Yeah.
But they had no mechanism to monitor the rainfall so that the availability of water wasn't influencing their decision to fill their pool up or not. So they had no conservation strategy at all.
Okay.
And so we recommended to the chief and the band that they develop, first of all, what we recommended is that they put the observations on a website so that everybody can look at what the situation is in the community. So share the data, make it available. CocoRaS is easily shared. And the other thing is even get the kids involved, because the kids can influence the parents to change their behavior. Hey, so I have done these CocoRaS presentations to schools, and then get the teachers to use them as part of the curriculum, because they fit very well into science, into mathematics, measurements. So they can fit into a number of pieces of curriculum, geography, whatever. So there's a so anyways, I can talk about that kind of stuff,
But, no, I love the idea that you can talk about CocoRaS, but with this perspective of why it's useful to be part of these citizen science
exactly
initiatives. That CocoRaS is one of them, but there are hundreds or maybe thousands around the world. But the thing is that it's easy and it's useful for you. And one of the parts that is exactly my project in Dalhousie is that this empower you.
Absolutely.
Because information is power. So if you have your information, you will be more powerful. So just get your information. This is the message that I would like that all the talks say at the end, that if you have your information, you will be more powerful and you can obtain the information easily.
So one of the strategies I use, Camilo, is I have a lot of CocoRaS observers that follow me on Twitter, and I have like 16,000 followers on social media. And so I will often put up a map of the CocoRaS observations and talk about what happened and look at the detail. And that gets shared amongst social media. And then the people who volunteer are proud to see that their data is being used. And not only that, the media uses it. So after an event, the TV or the radio meteorologists will say, oh, I see Port Dufferin got 57 millimeters of rain. Thank you to the observer from Port Dufferin. Or Sheet Harbor reported 12 centimeters of snow. Thank you for that observation. So, and so giving positive feedback in real time to the citizen scientists is very rewarding. And one of the commitments I made is, and I tell people like the media and others, I said, you have to recognize that this data is valuable data, and find ways of acknowledging the value that these volunteers are contributing to the community, and not only the local community, but also the broader community globally, actually. So I talk, whatever. I don't know how long you guys want me to talk. I usually talk. I mean, I just gave a talk on climate change for 2 hours this week to the seniors college, but I'm thinking 30 minutes.
Exactly. The idea is 30 minutes. That will be 45. Always.
Yes, 30 minutes, and then some time for some discussion and questions.
And later will be some kind of discussion. My plan is that in this time, the monitor teams will be created, and tomorrow I hope we have enough volunteers there, because I want to officially establish the groups, and I need to ask them when they will be available for training, for in-person training, because I need to show them each of the different parameters that we want to measure, how to collect the data, how to register, how to send the data, you know. So tomorrow I hope I will have this information. So it would be great if we can have your talk and later some kind of, you know, exercise discussion, but, you know, some feedback from them, and, you know, some kind of exercise that they can do something with their hands, or say some way, you know,
Right.
that they feel that it was not just a talk, you know, that was something
Okay.
that
So
we learned.
I do that with the kids, the school kids. And what I do is I take a cup of water and pretend it rained and look
Yeah.
at the various ways of measuring rainfall using the Cocoras, and the
Yeah.
fact that you can even weigh the gauge with the rain in it and the rain not in it, and estimate the amount of precipitation just from the weight.
Yeah.
Because if you go out and all of the rain and the snow is frozen in your gauge, then it takes time to melt it in the house, but you can
Yeah.
weigh the gauge, and by weighing the gauge, you can estimate very accurately how much precipitation is in it. So you can do little exercises like that.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking that maybe also will be a great opportunity to give to them, to the different groups, their own cockroach station.
Yeah.
So I think we just need to manage how to do
but
it,
you have to
because I
order,
know it costs,
yeah,
you know.
but you have to order them soon because they come from Ontario.
Okay.
So I don't know how, I think I have, but I have some set aside. They're set aside mostly for, I got a grant for Black and Indigenous citizen scientists or students.
Mhm.
So I have CocoRAS gauges that are dedicated for underrepresented groups.
Yeah.
But I only have two left. One, I told Kelly I would donate to this,
Okay.
but it would be better if they all had gauges, were given a gauge as part of the
Mhm.
exercise.
Mhm.
I don't know if you'd be prepared to order some gauges, or
Yeah. You say that because I'm not totally familiar with cockroach, not yet, but the equipment, the kit that normally is in a station, is just the gauge, or there is something more?
no, it's just it's the gauge.
Yeah.
Well, it's an empty cylinder,
Mhm.
then another cylinder with the gauge inside.
Okay.
And then CocoRAS has all the instructions on video on how to set up the gauge and how to
Yeah.
measure it. The
Yeah.
only other thing you need is a ruler, of course. That's not
Yeah.
complicated.
No, it's because I think that maybe I can request, you know, how do you say, you know, to buy. Yes, I don't know
Yeah,
it's exactly the word, but to request or to buy the tent, because I know that we will need 10. And
right.
if it costs $50 in this range, we can buy, you know, maybe we can have another meeting next week if you're available, around Wednesday or Thursday, and maybe we can do all together, you know, that's to have the tent and to organize everything in the way that your talk will be some talk and workshop, you know, at the same time, because I think will be great, because we have 4 weeks from now, I think, 3.5 weeks for the
Yeah,
next activity. I think could be enough, I don't know, to receive from Ontario the gauge.
I think so.
Yeah.
Um, it's too bad I've used all the gauges I have with the
Yeah.
schools.
No, but
Uh,
as I told you, now we have the money. So it means that
yes.
we can buy it. In other words, if you can buy it tomorrow, I will reimburse you. Something like that, you know.
Okay. So I could do that, is order some.
Yeah,
Um, Let me contact, I know the guys in Ontario, so let me contact them and
yeah,
see what, you know, again, these are the kind of things that, with some time you can get the government to buy these things. but
no, but we have the grants, you know. So
yeah,
sometimes
exactly.
The money is for using the, you know. So
That's right.
just order
Okay.
this 10 because I know that from now we have 10 locations. You know, 9 in Chill Harbor and mine because I told you I already want to have everything also in my home with the idea that I can be also a citizen and scientist, you know, because I want to be in the feet of them.
Perfect. Okay.
You know?
So let me follow up on that.
Yeah.
And we'll have Marion wants to have a meeting with me next week, but we'll get together for another follow-up chat next week, and I'll update you on how easy it'll be to get stations.
Okay. Yeah, I think in another meeting we can speak about the stations and maybe if, which connection you can help us to do with another similar projects to start to have some kind of supporting network, you know.
Actually, I'm just looking at this little thing that is sitting
Yeah,
on my desk. It's called Meteorologista.
yeah,
And I'll tell you the story. My wife bought me this Meteorologista because I went to a meeting on nowcasting in Rio de Janeiro
okay,
just before I retired 10 years ago.
yeah,
So my wife and I, we said, while we're down there, let's go to Iguazu. So we went to Iguazu on the Brazil side, and we spent a couple of days. And then I said, let's go. We had reservations on the Argentina side.
yeah,
And when we got to the border, my passport was a government passport because I was there on business. And the Argentina customs stopped me and said, you need a visa because you're a government employee, you're a diplomat. And because you're a diplomat, you cannot enter the country without a visa. And I
wow.
said, no. I said, I'm a meteorologista. No diplomat,
Nice.
no diplomat, meteorologista. So
Nice.
she had to call Buenos Aires, and the taxi driver was, of course, Portuguese.
Yeah,
And so he was waiting. He was so patient at the border. So we were sitting on the curb waiting to go through customs, and he was teaching me Portuguese, and my wife was wandering down the road, and next thing you know, I told her to come back because she was now in Paraguay, because Iguazu, how it's right at the border of Paraguay and
yeah, Argentina, Brazil,
Brazil
yeah.
and Argentina. So my wife would walk down to Paraguay. But I finally got into Argentina because she said, okay, he's not a diplomat, he's a meteorologista. So, so my wife bought me this
Yeah.
little
Yeah, this is your entrance to Argentina. Is this
my
this
entrance
puppet?
to, well, exactly.
You don't need a passport. You need the puppet. Nice. Oh, great.
Anyways,
No,
but
Jim, tell me about your availability for next Thursday. Is fine for you?
next week, let me look. Yeah, next Thursday, same time would be
Same
good.
time will be good for you. Great. Perfect. I will send you the invitation. I will ask to Marianne that she prepare the Zoom link.
Yeah.
And we can speak about the cockroach stations and the other similar initiatives. And if you want to be more involved in any way with us, I'm always happy to collaborate. I like to collaborate, and I like to learn about meteorology, but also about stories about like the Iguazu one. It's nice.
What part of Argentina are you from?
No, I'm from Colombia.
Oh, you're from Colombia. Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know. I just assumed because you had a guy from Argentina
No,
talking
I
about.
have colleagues, and I was a coordinator of a network related with beach management
Okay.
all around Latin America. So I have
Yeah,
friends
yeah,
in
yeah.
17 countries in Latin America. I have friends, colleagues. So I always know somebody that is working something related with the beach there in the
So
continent.
I see you have a UWI, so the University of West Indies.
Yeah. I was in a conference in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, because
Yeah.
just before the pandemic, I was at I was doing some work in Barbados at the CIMH, the what's it called, the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology,
Okay.
and I was doing a review of. They wanted to enhance their programs in both meteorology and oceanography to be a prediction center. And so
Okay.
I was part of the contractor there to evaluate their capacity to be a prediction center.
Okay.
So I visited,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, no, in 2 weeks I will be in PI in a conference, in a symposium that is called Iceland Iceland Innovation Summit, I think.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
will be a lot of people from the Western Caribbean.
Oh,
So
really?
maybe I will wear this with this t-shirt. I was not thinking about that, but why not? Maybe I will attract some
Yeah, why
attention
not?
from them. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you
so
very much.
nice meeting you,
Nice
Camilo.
meeting you. I think now we have a deal. I would ask you about my 10 coconut stations. Now I'm very excited about that.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, take care.
Yeah, thank you very much. Take care.
Bye-bye.